covering news where you live. This is 5 News at 9.
President Trump is one step closer to building a wall along the U.S.-Mexico border. A closer look at what else his administration is working on in just a moment. And a new tax cut in Arkansas could help out thousands of low-income residents. We'll introduce you to one man affected by the potential cut a little later in this newscast. Good evening, I'm Katelynn Zoellner. A Washington County Justice of the Peace resigns. We spoke with J.P. Rick Cochran multiple times over the past couple of months about his concerns on the county budget and recent hires made by the new county judge. 5 News reporter Seth Stevenson tells us why Cochran says he's done.
Rick Cochran, back to you.
Okay, Seth, thanks. Before Cochran's position can be filed, the Quorum Court will have to declare a vacancy, and Governor Asa Hutchinson will appoint someone to finish the term. Cochran has been a JP since 2013. He was re-elected this past November. Meanwhile, in Cave Springs, the mayor says the city council is out of line after requesting the city attorney resign during a meeting last night. Mayor Travis Lee says the council seems to have problems with personal matters rather than professional ones. The city is set to undergo an audit starting next week after recent budget conflicts. It is unclear how long that process could take. Fayetteville High School is set to have a new football coach after the resignation of Bill Blankenship earlier this month. Billy Dawson will be named the new leader of the Bulldogs football program tomorrow. Dawson led Russellville to its first state championship this past season. We'll take a closer look at Dawson's coaching history tonight on your 5 News at 10. The weather where you live, very cold tonight. Here's Garrett to talk more about what you can expect as you head out the door in the morning. Garrett?
Yeah, those temperature in a bit.
Okay, Garrett, thanks. Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson is expected to sign a $50 million tax cut for hundreds of thousands of low-income Arkansans. The reduction would affect anyone making under $21,000 a year. 5 News reporter Brian Shaver introduces us to a man who could be impacted by the tax cut.
For 5 News.
The legislature will vote on the tax cut once more before it heads to the governor's desk to sign. The medical marijuana amendment that voters approved in November may be facing some changes by state lawmakers. 2 bills are in the works that would not allow patients to smoke medical marijuana. Another bill wants the state not to implement the medical marijuana program until the federal government legalizes it. The senator who plans to file this bill, Jason Rapert, says he does not understand why people think we can proceed with this when it's against federal law.
Anyone rules.
Senator Rapert has asked the Attorney General to weigh in on this. He says he's hoping to hear whether the Trump administration will lift the Obama ban on enforcement of the 1970 Federal Controlled Substances Act. Speaking of medical marijuana, Arkansas lawmakers have proposed a bill setting the legal limit of the drug while driving. They've set that limit at 5 nanograms. Washington State and Colorado have set the same limits. Police say whether or not the bill is passed, they will continue using the same field sobriety test. Police departments also have drug reinforcement officers. They have specialized training in determining what drug a driver is using. The Fayetteville Police Department has one of the largest number of drug reinforcement officers in the state. Upgrades have started for the Rogers Animal Shelter. Last night, the City Council approved an additional $48,000 toward the shelter upgrades. Some of those upgrades include tops for dog cages so they cannot jump over and into other enclosures, as well as covers for open drainages around the facility. The director says these upgrades have been in the works for quite some time. Some of the money used for the upgrades is from donations to the shelter. Work is expected to be complete in about 2 months. President Donald Trump took action on one of his biggest campaign promises today. He got the ball rolling on tightening U.S. immigration control. Weijia Jiang has the latest from the White House. The president also ordered an investigation into what he believes was widespread voter fraud during the presidential election that he claims cost him the popular vote. For decades, cities and counties nationwide have shown their support for undocumented immigrants and vowed to protect them from federal authorities. From New York to San Francisco, these so-called sanctuary cities are upholding their pledge, even though President Trump plans to cut federal funds to local and state governments that do not comply.
We're certainly not backing out now.
Federal agents can still enforce immigration laws in sanctuary cities. The federal government says there are about 11 million undocumented immigrants living in the U.S.
And it looks like it's going to get a little colder for the overnight. I'll have your forecast up next.
And television icon Mary Tyler Moore has passed away. After the break, we take a look at her long career in the entertainment world.
A sex offender on the loose is spotted tonight. Deputies right now searching an area after citing him earlier this evening in LaFleur County. The latest coming up on that in just a couple of moments. Good evening, everyone. I'm Darren Bobb.
And I'm Katelynn Zoellner. Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson is expected to sign a $50 million tax cut for hundreds of thousands of low-income Arkansans.
5 News reporter Brian Shaver has more on how this will affect people in our area.
Brian Shaver, 5 News.
The legislature will vote on the tax cut once more before it heads to the governor's desk to sign.
President Trump signed 2 executive orders today to begin building a border wall and crack down on immigrants living in the U.S. illegally. For decades, cities and counties nationwide have shown their support for undocumented immigrants and vowed to protect them from federal authorities. The federal government says there are about 11 million undocumented immigrants living in the U.S. and hundreds of cities and counties upholding their pledge to protect these immigrants, even though the president plans to cut federal funds to local and state governments that do not comply.
We're certainly not backing out now. We are.
According to Homeland Security, more than 2.7 million people were deported from 2009 to 2015. To increase those numbers, experts say more resources are needed. In Arkansas, a bill was filed last December to prohibit cities in the natural state from becoming sanctuary cities. Under the bill, any municipality that enacts sanctuary policies would see state funds cut until the policies are repealed. There is also a bill that would stop universities from using sanctuary policies.
You will definitely need a jacket, maybe even a coat tomorrow as you head to work and school. Garrett, pretty chilly in the morning.
It's already cold out there.
By the council at the end of next month.
Emmy-winning actress Mary Tyler Moore has died at the age of 80. A spokesman says she passed away in the company of friends and her husband of more than 33 years. She was born in Brooklyn, New York in 1936, but raised in Southern California. She started acting at 17. Her first big break was on The Dick Van Dyke Show. She later married TV executive Grant Tinker in 1962, and they formed MTM Enterprises. Its first TV series was The Mary Tyler Moore Show. It was set in Minneapolis and was one of the first primetime programs to feature a single working woman.
We start tomorrow.
Oh, well, that's just wonderful. So I'll see you tomorrow.
It lasted for 7 seasons. In her lifetime, Moore won a Golden Globe and was nominated for an Oscar for Ordinary People. The cause of her death has not been released. Many fans are expressing their love for the actress on social media tonight. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of those comments. Tom says Mary Tyler Moore could be funny while not trying to be funny. She was a delight. Becky says, R.I.P. Mary Tyler Moore. I watched you so much as a young girl. Lavonda, such a legend, will be missed. And Mary says, you brought lots of joy and laughs into many of our lives. My deepest sympathy to your family and friends, a life well lived. CBS News will present a special hour-long broadcast dedicated to the life and legacy of Mary Tyler Moore tomorrow. That will be hosted by CBS This Morning co-host Gayle King. It's called Mary Tyler Moore, Love is All Around. It starts at 8 o'clock.